Hey everyone, I'm back. This is Shai Arnold from For Grieving Daughters, and welcome to the For Grieving Daughters Podcast, where we talk all things about life after death, what it's like as a motherless daughter to heal, build community, and find your purpose after experience the loss of your mom or maternal figure, such as a grandmother. I talked in our first episode about why I started this organization and an intro to our organization, what it is we're about to do in the community, and how you can join. But I want to talk a little bit about the impact my mom's death has had on me and navigating motherhood. Um, for me, I grieved as a 10-year-old up until probably, I don't know, when I had my son at 21, the loss of my mom in different ways, whether it was attention seeking, whether it was lack of trust that I had, whether it was connecting with the wrong people. And what I mean by attention seeking is like I would sometimes be envious of the relationships my friends had with their moms, and I would desire that attention from their moms. But it was like trauma bonding. It wasn't like healthy, relationships. But it wasn't until I had my son at 21 that it hit me, like grief hit me, met me at the door. And so I remember like my first Mother's Day, which also is the weekend my brother's birthday usually falls, and I didn't know how to celebrate. I didn't know if I should be sad because my mom wasn't there. I don't know if I should have celebrated because it was my first Mother's Day. I also have postpartum depression, very bad. And so I was just navigating a really weird space. I didn't have the best relationship at the time with my sister who raised me, because of my choice of having a baby, and I was getting to college. And honestly, for me, that having that baby was when I found out, like, yeah, this grief journey is real. And so I realized, like, I don't have a mother to help me. I don't have the example that most people have of what a maternal figure look like, or I should say a mother figure look like, because mine was cut so short at 10. And when you're in survival mode, you just trying to make it through day to day. And that's where I found myself, like just trying to figure it out. And I realized, like, there's only really two jobs you have in parenting. One is as a mother, and one is to take care of their mother, which means take care of you. And the other is to raise them in a way where, in my opinion, they get to be the best them so that they can explore all of the talents, gifts, have the morals and character that's designed for them. Well, it was no possible way I could do that when I was in survival mode. And so when I had chose to acknowledge that a lot of the patterns and the behaviors I had been through was related to grief, me feeling abandoned and rejected by that grief, it allowed me to deal with the things at the root, not at the surface, and create healthy habits, better behaviors, be accountable, create a better circle, a better community. Like, my whole thing was, I always knew I was destined for greatness, but how is it that you could walk through life and navigate life through all of these great things, but you're trash to yourself? Like, you don't really heal your inner child. Like, you trash in your thought process for how you look at yourself and view yourself. And so for me, like, healing those esteem issues and confidence and all of that was really tied in grief, and I didn't even know. So yeah, navigating motherhood is still challenging. My son is 8. But I have a different perspective. Now I can navigate as a mom, and how do I give my best self to him and to myself, because I deserve to prioritize myself and be my best self so I can pour it to him. But I don't look at it from the perspective of grief anymore. And I know so many women who are navigating, especially first-time moms or young moms, navigating this parental space without their mom. And it's ghetto as hell. Parenting is already ghetto. But navigating parenting with a limited perspective or mindset of grief in survival mode is ghetto. Like, I would not recommend it. So these were a couple tips I did. For me, it was going to therapy. It was a non-negotiable. I had tried therapy 3 times. Once when I had my son, because I went through really bad postpartum. Second time I tried is because I wanted to run away and move to another state, and I just wanted to know what would life be navigating as a single mom. And at the time, my career was like first starting. Didn't like that therapist either. Then the third time, I fell in love with my therapist, and there was not a codependency. She really gave me the tools and the resources to independently think, but also to be more reactive versus like responding to everything. Like, you do not have to respond to everything, but you can react in a way that's appropriate, right? And with a healthy mindset. So it was able to really, like, grief was called out in a lot of it. My abandonment that I felt by my mom, even though it wasn't her fault. The rejection I felt from my family growing up, even though, again, it wasn't their fault, right? Because we have to also walk around with a perspective that everybody is doing the best that they can, and you have to give grace because people are trying to navigate the journey with you, but it doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes it feels like you're alone in a journey, in a process. Sometimes when you're never asked, what do you need, you don't grow up and you're not conditioned to have that independent thinking. So I didn't know what I needed. If somebody asked me at 11, what did you need? At 12, what did I need? I don't know. Somebody asked me at 18, I don't know. So I kind of grew up with this, like, trauma response of this, like, hyper independentness. Like, I don't need nobody. I got this on my own. And I wore that as a badge of honor when, like, now at almost 30, I'm realizing the power in community, the power in being transparent, the power in being vulnerable, the power in being not okay. And it makes it so much easier for me to ask for help in navigating motherhood. It's so much easier for me to ask, like, friends and family to be able to teach my son the things that I can't teach him. That's why kids require a village. And so, although I wish my son had an experience with his grandmother, although, me and him have to talk about what death looks like, but it's even changed how I look at life and legacy building, because the perspective is no longer just from I have to get life insurance or I have to get funerals and policies, or, oh my God, please don't ever let nothing happen to me, because that's the little girl in me. It was like, if something happens to me, who's going to raise my child? Because that's my perspective. Now I can be in a place of abundance and have an abundant mindset that I have life insurance because it's a wealth builder. I have tools like a trust and a will and all of these things because this is a way to create generational wealth and legacy. It's not from a place of poverty and mindset of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Versus how do I use these tools, because that's all that money is, to be able to create real legacy, real wealth, and a healthy mindset that go with it. So my son doesn't look at this from a perspective of this like, even his relationship with money will be healthy because I have cured my relationship and the way I navigate it. So we don't even realize how grief like steals all of those things from us. And so navigating motherhood without my mom, and like, it's allowed me to create more social emotional development and space for my son because I've taken the time to heal me. It's allowed me to holistically have better dialogue with him about how I parent him and give him the space and opportunity to share feedback, to give me the space and opportunity to tell me where I'm wrong and where could be better. I don't know. Like, it's just, I think the last 2 years I've just been intentional about what my experience looks like as a mom, and I'm not in survival mode. I'm not grieving anymore. And although I recognize that it's hard for people to do, especially I have a friend who lost her mom. She was her caregiver, and then she had babies right away. So it's like you're going from caregiving from your mother, losing her, don't really have time to grieve, to now you're just in to the next thing because now you have these kids. But that's just survival mode. And so when we don't give ourselves grace or space to process things, we just operate out of survival mode, and like, it just does us no good. So for me, I think any advice I would give someone operating that's new in this space of grief and new in this space of motherhood, I would say make yourself a priority and take care of you just as much as you take care of those kids or your, household or your spouse or significant other. Make you probably more of a priority. And that's why I'm trying to be intentional with these podcasts being about 25 to 30 minutes, because I want this to be your you time. Like, I want this to be the time when you're on a treadmill. I want this to be on a time where you're on your commute to work, that you're just like, you know what, I'm not okay today. I miss my mom, or I miss my grandmother, or I'm struggling with this. And I want a safe space to just have that community. Like, take this as girl talk back to me, let us know, drop comments. Like, we are here to be a part of your village, and to understand what it is that you need. So that's just my journey of navigating motherhood as a grieving daughter. And now that I'm healing and choosing to be in a space of abundance, this is what motherhood looks like for me. So if you can help me with an 8-year-old that's like super demanding, drop those tips too, because it's still ghetto, but it's gotten so much better. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Like our social media platforms For Grieving Daughters, where we'll continue to provide updates and announcements of how you can get involved in our community. And if you ever want to be a guest on our podcast, hit us up.